Ryan, would you be my slave under the rules established in Exodus 21?
If I could be, see, you keep saying slave, but it doesn't say slave, it says servant.
Oh my God.
If I was
Ryan, would you be my servant under the rules of Exodus? No, shut up. Would you be my servant under the rules of Exodus 21?
It's a bad idea. Don't do it.
Why does this take even half a fucking second? This is the embarrassing thing. I'm gonna let you go, Ryan. I've already hung up because I want you to go and think about this. I'm not joking when I talk about how much this breaks my fucking heart to watch the poison that religion has imbued people with to the point where they will bend over backwards and hem and haw about the easiest question I could ask. Are people property? Can you beat them? Would you be my slave, my servant, if you want to pedantically? It wasn't written in English anyway. Under what Exodus 21 says. It is grossly immoral. It is an embarrassment that anybody would pause for more than half a second to answer that question. Think about what your religion has done to your head. It is making you a slave to the religion because you no longer have the free will and exercise to say, this is wrong. I don't understand how things that are obviously wrong, just because they're in somebody's book, you got to bend over backwards. Well, you got to think about the times. And it wasn't like, 150 years ago. It was, way back in the Israelites, and there were people who owed debts. Yes, and there were completely different rules for how to let your Jewish slaves go after 7 years, and then how you could trick fuck them into being your slaves forever, and how every 50 years was a year of Jubilee, and everybody got to go free. 50 years. 50 years. So when I buy a slave at 8, when they're 58, I can let them go. Oh, but Matt, what if the 50 years falls on their 10th birthday? You only had them for 2. Great, I don't buy an 8-year-old. I wait 2 years, and I buy the 11-year-old, and I get them for 49 years. There is literally no way to make what that book says about slavery remotely moral. And it's I tell you what, because I talk about this all the time, it's the prime example. It's the one I think is most obvious to people, that most people get. And I trust that Ryan will actually get it too. I don't know what he'll end up doing about it. I don't know what anybody will end up doing about it. But for the people who are like, oh, Matt just keeps harping on slavery. Yes! If you had a book that said it's okay to cut off your daughter's hand, what excuses would you make for that? And I would argue that cutting off somebody's hand is probably less harmful to them overall than maintaining them as a slave that you can beat and punish and sell off and give to your kids as their inheritance. I can live without a hand. Can't live without freedom. I can't live a good, moral, humanist, valuable life without that freedom. And the people who are willing to sacrifice basic freedoms, actually they're not. Because Ryan knows that there's no way he would ever be my servant under Exodus 21. What's actually going on in Ryan's head is, I can't say that because that would be me denying and denouncing the Bible. And my religious beliefs won't allow me to do that. That is the poison that religion imbues the population with, and it has to stop. I would love to never bring up Exodus 21 again forever. If the Christian community and the Jewish community would just get together and say, this is fucking wrong, we're going to at least ignore this passage in Exodus. You also have to ignore the one in Leviticus and the one in Deuteronomy, and the fact that in the New Testament, Jesus never says anything against slavery, and the only thing Paul ever says is slaves obey your masters in the Lord, even the cruel ones, which is the exact wrong thing to say to anybody. There's a reason slavery comes up over and over and over and over again, because it should be as obvious as whether or not the sun goes around the earth now that you actually have the evidence for it.